matters to me because I know that it affects everyone and in different ways, and it also affects all of our lives, like very intrinsically, more than we realize.
Mental health not only affects us, but it affects the people around us.
All these classrooms around here are like communities within communities, you know what I mean? Like, this is a huge, huge place.
Ever since I came here in 2017, I've heard, the very first thing I heard about the school was that there are 2 Myers Parks. We serve a large attendance zone. And so you can kind of categorize the 2 Myers Parks in one way. One is, the one Myers Park is the immediate, or is the surrounding area. If you could walk to Myers Park, you have a different experience than if you're bussed in from another community. And we're constantly working to build equity for both sides. I've known of students who like go through the day without speaking to anyone. As a member of the admin team, we need to find ways to connect students to others and improve our like networks within our own building.
I mean, everybody deals with it differently, and it's so important that we focus on solutions, especially with all the problems that can arise from not dealing with mental health issues.
Noticing kids are more tense after COVID, and kids are more nervous to come to school. Students' social worlds were taken away during COVID because they couldn't come to school and form connections in their classes.
Since COVID occurred and we had no school for a year, and then we had like weird school for like a half year, there has been at least a new sort of awareness to like how is everybody doing? Like this general question of like, is everybody doing okay? How are we? Like, can we check in? Can we talk? Can we discuss? And if things are like not really going okay, like who is there and who is available to maybe talk about those things? So that's definitely something different. Like that was never anything that the school, at least that I was aware of, like ever really got into or seemed to really like put a focus or an emphasis on. And it seems like we're doing that now, which is good.
Our 9th grade class now, they were 7th graders. I think they entered middle school when this happened, and some didn't go to school for 7th or 8th grade. Kids that are hesitant to speak to each other, students that kind of just like coast through the day without really talking to many people. Even, high schoolers trying to socially mobilize upward or economically mobilize and like get into colleges, prestigious colleges, to improve like their generational wealth. Like there's all these things that could cause us so much anxiety and stress, and I think we've seen it a lot here at Myers Park. There are students on campus that aren't involved in anything.
There's so many people, it's inevitable for individuals to get lost.
Touch on this. Yes. I don't remember who it was. One of our amazing teachers, Miss Wright or Miss Behringer, one of them said, Myers Park is such like a big school, and we only talk about the extremes most of the time, like quote,
the
quote,
high achievers.
Exactly.
And then
or the really struggling students. But we never talk about the middle ground, which is most of Myers Park. They don't really get as much attention, and like you said, their voices get lost.
There are certain clubs that are brand new or have been new for like a year or two. Their prime focus was on mental health. How can students support each other, and like come together and have these meeting spaces where like there's safe spaces and there's like-minded people, or even not like-minded people, but like a place where people can come together to really feel okay to just talk about whatever those things are that they want to talk about.
Hi, I'm Conrad. I am one of the co-founders of the Blue Skies Club here at Myers Park High School.
I'm Ellie Loge, and I am a co-founder, and I run the social media account.
I'm Lucy George. I'm also a co-founder, and I head up the research part of the club.
It's cutthroat competitive today, We as individuals can never take a break and say, hey, I'm proud of myself for who I am, and I'm wonderful for who I am. Like I can be happy without basing myself off of this statistic or this grade or this thing that I accomplished. And that's kind of what Blue Skies is about.
It's very important to us as a team is to create an environment where people feel as though they can be themselves. So I think that's very important. And So we like to do a lot of kind of creative activities, just things where people can really sit down and get to know each other. Before Christmas break, we made posters, and we did quotes on them that were very broad, but definitely had a very positive message towards mental health, and we put one in each building. And just like a friendly reminder for people when they walk by, and I think it was a really good thing because we all came together and each poster was unique, and we had the opportunity to spread it around.
The first topic for Blue Skies, I think, was FOMO, and that was or fear of missing out, because actually a surprising amount of people didn't know what it stood for. And that was a very eye-opening topic for me because there were people who showed up to the meeting who I had seen around, but like I was not really close with them, but I thought, they know everyone, like they're so cool. And then they told me like that they always like felt sad when they didn't get invited to things.
We as individuals are trying to constantly evolve and change as a club. The goal of the club is to not just be at Myers Park, but also potentially at other CMS high schools, install chapters at their own schools and have a curriculum for them. Like, we all look out for each other. We want to support one another more than anything. And just to even have clubs that surround mental health show to students that there is a place where you are seen, you are valued, and you are taken care of. And that's the important part.
Dream Team is focused on leadership and service. Our main goal is to create an everlasting impact on our community.
Prior to joining Dream Team, I felt like I didn't take any personal action into combating mental health struggles or just like working on mental health in general, and I really wanted to I wanted to be a part of that and really contribute to that in a personal way. So like we saw last year with people participating in, I think it was Get Real About How You Feel Week, people were going on the runways and doing the stations, and I think if we really we can't say we're not trying to do anything about it if we all as a community don't go out there and participate in the things that we've been planning. Dream Team had such an impact as far as mental health goes, but when I joined it and as I started working with Dream Team, I really realized that I could use my own struggles or just my own perspective in general to put out what I want to see on campus, because I know that there's somebody else out there like me who could really benefit from what we've been doing all year long.
Determining how we as Dream Team can help the community, we try to gauge the mental health of the community and think to ourselves, what can we create for the community that's going to help with their mental health? We're working on our MP Grow initiative, which stands for Growing to Reach Our Wellness. And there's a lot of different aspects of this initiative, including a website that will provide easy access to helpful resources. There will be hopefully a big culminating event at the end for students to celebrate themselves and their mental wellness. Our focus is not necessarily towards combating mental illness as much as it is towards increasing mental wellness. We do have certain resources for if you're struggling with mental illness, but the main focus is just increasing positivity and promoting wellness as much as we can.
One of the days that we have in mind will be kindness towards yourself, and so that's all about being kind to yourself and really appreciating yourself as you would appreciate another person. And so that's another way that we would like to address mental health within Dream Team.
And even the other days, like being kind towards others, being kind towards the environment, I think all of those are beneficial to our mental health and the mental health of our community.
Yeah, because like we said, mental health is literally in everything. So Dream Team as a whole has divided into subcommittees, and we're all working on different things. We're just doing many different things to kick off this hopefully larger thing that we can create to leave an impact on Myers Park as it pertains to mental health.
At the end of the day, I think that adult to child connection can be valuable in certain stances.
It can be very easy to for kids or teachers, you know, to kind of like have a hard time finding, you know, like where they fit or how they fit, you know, and with whom they fit. And so like, even within the classroom, it is important to like just find those moments and take that time, even if it's 30 seconds, to just be like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? You know, what'd you do last night? You know, what are you having for lunch? You know, like anything, just, you know, like, but just to have like that mini human connection for a second, where it's not like a teacher and a student and a student and a teacher. It's just like two people like in a shared space that feel like they're kind of hanging out and they feel good like together, you know. It's just like those things like build the culture of a place. Like with that time that comes with SEL or homeroom advice, whatever you want to call it. I respect the time because I'll put a timer up on the screen just so I remember, you know, like, so I know that 25 minutes belongs to students. Like it's not my time or like my class time or like TOK time. It's like, it's their time. Like some might eat lunch, some just have conversations, some might get work done, you know, and like, but I'll make sure like, at least like once or twice a week, I'll be a part of the room, but I'll just kind of walk around, you know, because it gives me a good opportunity to just come over and be like, hey, what's going on? Like most of the best conversations I've ever had have not really been about like TOK or like what we're learning. It's just been about like where you feel like you're hanging out and you're talking to somebody. I feel like that's, those are great, and I feel like the more we do that, the better off everybody will be. If I can create a space where like we're doing work, we're doing valuable work, we're doing meaningful work, you're learning things. And sometimes you don't even realize like you're learning it at that time, but like, you know, a week or a month or like a couple months later, you're like, oh my God, like we did all of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like if I can kind of create that sort of a feel and a vibe in a room where like we're gonna get everything done that we need to get done and learn all the things that they need to learn, but we can do it in a manner where we all kind of feel like, you know, like we can kind of just like take a deep breath.
And the cool thing, the thing I like working most about our team is that each of our team members, so we have 8 administrators on staff, a principal, Mr. Folk, 3 APs and 3 deans, and we each have like our own focus. We have several different initiatives going at one time because each of our administrators focuses on like a certain group or a certain project that we're working on. I work predominantly with our Spanish-speaking students, World Languages Department, and Latina students. Growing up Latino doesn't mean that I know every Latino or Latina experience there is. So like I constantly have to talk to students and like get to know their families. Just because you're of a certain race doesn't mean that you know what's happening like in that space. Like you need to have your ear to the ground. You have to listen to people that you're serving. Specifically with what I work in, I would like to see language barrier not be an issue for students trying to build connections. I see it every day with students that I work with is they can't express themselves and how they feel because they can't communicate with other teachers or students. So that's like on a micro level, and that I work with that every day with our bilingual family advocate, Ms. Barretto, who works in the front office. Freeland he still leads at a group called Lead 2020, which works predominantly with Black male students to work on graduation rates. Ms. Armstrong leads a group of women on campus that works on conflict resolution. So, and so does Ms. Barretto. She works with a group of 25 students. And Ms. Richards works in our athletics department. We have Coach James, who also works in athletics and works with our 9th graders. Each administrator has a different grade level. So we kind of crisscross a lot. We really focus, when we have a conversation with students, we focus on the root of the issue. And that's what we want to work with. All our teachers are going through professional development on like how to depersonalize student behavior. So realizing that student, like, let's say a student, I don't know, a student cusses you out or something, or a student is not doing the work, not to make it about you. It's really not about the teacher, it's about what the student is going through. We have professional development for all staff members on like having check-ins with students, like asking how students are doing and passing. And not just for a few students, for all students in classrooms. If every teacher checks in with a student at least once a week, that's every student that's been asked how they're doing across the whole school. And Myers Park is such a huge place that you don't really see what's happening at the top. And I don't really know what's happening, at the student level. Like, it's good I think it's good for us to know, to remind ourselves what's happening with you all. I mean, everything that we do has to do with your experience and your success. We understand that there's different needs on both sides. There are resources that some students have that others don't. And so I think a big part of our work is to provide, is to like have that equity for students that may not have as much as other students. And we think that there's some power in that. I think students feel empowered when they see people at the school like work to improve the situation that they're in.
Hey, my name's Amanda. I'm the new school nurse at Myers Park. I am brand new to this. I've been in healthcare for 22 years. I spent 16 years in emergency medicine specifically. I've done all the emergency response that I would like to do, and so time to try something different. The typical ways that we think about mental health tend to be just in terms of anxiety, depression, things like that, but it's really a lot more multifaceted on a daily basis. Emotional regulation, emotional awareness, time management, procrastination, conflict resolution that we have to deal with every day. That's part of mental health, not just necessarily when it's dysfunctional. What has stood out to me the most just in the few months that I've been here is the amount of issues that you guys are actually dealing with. Just remembering what it's like to be in high school and the stress and anxiety of it, just that. But then in addition to that, sports competitions, a lot of you guys have jobs, you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're here until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you still go work 5 to 6 hours at night. And that's a lot for anybody to handle. That's a straight 16-hour day. And then you get up and do it all over again and are expected to pay attention and be on time. We have 10 guidance counselors that are assigned alphabetically. So depending on where your name falls, that's how they split it between the counselors. And they are academic counselors, but they are also licensed mental health clinicians, professionals. So they are a really good resource for short-term things, like situational anxiety, conflict resolution. They can do individual or group sessions. They can do 3 sessions without parental involvement, meaning they don't need consent from parents, up to 8 sessions. With the 8 sessions, there is still confidentiality laws, and depending on what the situation is, if you need the full 8 sessions, they would need consent from a parent, but they are limited on what they tell the parent, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to deter people from going to see them because of the need for parental consent. Like, there has to be a conversation there, but it doesn't have to be a detailed conversation. Other than that, we do have school-based mental health through Thompson Behavioral Health, and that is more of a professional long-term therapy, or sessions, visitations for more complex stuff that just needs a little bit more attention. So Thompson Behavioral Health can be throughout the entire year. It's an outside agency. They're not affiliated with the school system at all. They come, I believe they come weekly to the school. They can come see me, they can come see the guidance counselor, and we can kind of get that process going. We can assess and see, what we can do here immediately as far as immediate assistance goes. We also have substance abuse counseling. like on hand. Substance abuse goes anything from the vaping to nicotine pouches, alcohol to, you know, more recreational drug use. So they cover the full spectrum, and that is available all the time. There's 2 social workers on campus. And they can help with a variety of different things in different situations. They're going to be very helpful. Again, with the more complex things, we actually do have a large amount of students experiencing homelessness, situations of abuse where there's more of a family dynamic that needs to be involved, or protected. Depending on the scenario, they're going to be a lot more helpful with that kind of situation. They're also going to be very helpful with organizing and utilizing community resources. In addition, we have the 504 counselors, which are here, and their capacity or function would be to help with accommodations, whether it be, I've got several students that I work with that we have plans to help reduce anxiety, different de-escalation tactics, whether it's coming to see me or see their counselor. I do have several students that keep medication, like as needed medications with me. So they come, they hang out with me for a little bit. We do some talking, some different techniques till we get to feeling a little bit better and head back to finish the day. So they help actually put that in writing where it's easier to disseminate to the teachers and actually help to enforce and have available, so they kind of know what's going on and this is what we need to do, and it's part of their plan. Me, I'm a resource. Mostly, I'm just here for general support. I can provide, I have snacks, I have water, I have coloring books. Every now and again, I like to think I'm pretty funny. I'm actually employed through the county and I'm assigned here. Well, I work with the school, and it's important to maintain, like, you know, school principles and rules and all of that stuff. My primary goal is making sure that you guys are healthy and happy and safe. So I'm, to an extent, I'm kind of like Switzerland in here. I don't, my goal is to make sure you guys are healthy and happy. It is very important to me. After 16 years in the emergency department, I can tell you universally across the board, mental health care is something that we're not really good at. And we're not good at acknowledging, we're not good at treating, we're not good at following up on. And it's definitely something that if there's any way I can help, I'm always here. So when I was young, like, I remember the Challenger explosion, right? Like in first grade, we're watching this rocket, you know, take off. It's a big deal, and it explodes on national television while we're all watching, and it was terrifying, right? But that was one event in my entire, like, adolescence. Like, it wasn't until 9/11 in my early 20s that something else happened where I realized, like, the world is a mess, right? You guys have constant access to it. Every day on your phone is a Challenger explosion, is a 9/11 event, you know? So I think it's really important to, like, keep that in perspective and limit that and be aware of it and not overwhelming yourselves with it. Like, I really do think that has a huge impact on the anxiety level, because there's never a break from it. There's never a stop to it. The world is a crazy place. It's always been a crazy place, but you guys kind of have like 24-hour access to exactly how crazy it is, if that makes sense. I love you guys. You are, you're hysterical. You make me laugh every day. You're so funny. You're a lot stronger than you think.
I think people are very fast to close their walls. And I don't know if that makes much sense, but freshman year, I came in, didn't know anyone. I came from a small private school. And I met people, and I kind of closed myself off. I was like, okay, these are my friends, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. And I think this year, I've kind of been thrown for a bit of a loop in general, and I met people that I genuinely don't think I can live without anymore. aren't you, was something I never thought I'd find, and I did, and that was through this community.
In my experience, when I have good mental health, I function well in every aspect of my life, and when I'm struggling with mental health, I struggle in every area of my life.
It matters. Like, mental health does matter, you know, and the fact that we talk more about it just in this sort of setting, like the fact that like this wouldn't have happened like 5 years ago. You know, like we wouldn't be sitting here like having this discussion.
We can sit and talk all day about mental health and how no one is doing anything about it.
The thing we can do is creating a sense of community so that everyone feels like they can find their niche, they can find somewhere where they feel like they belong.
Yeah.
And if everyone feels like there's other people like them, other people that they can relate to, then it'll help everyone.
I would also say, like we said with the extremes, it's not just mental illness. Maybe you want to address your own mental health. Maybe you're not necessarily, you know, deeply struggling, but you still want to develop, you know, as a person and grow, and you want to just feel a little bit better one day. You know what I mean?
You don't have to have a mental illness
Exactly.
to want to increase your mental wellness.
And I would say that might represent some of the middle ground, and that is still something that should be like worked on and addressed and praised for wanting to do that. You don't need to, like, you know, need emergency help immediately.
It's one of these things where like if you were to ask anybody, like, is mental health like important? Is it valuable? Is it something we should care about? Everybody would say yes. But then you say, okay, well, what are you doing in order to like help that? You know, and a lot of people would go, oh, maybe not much, you know, like, or maybe I can do more, you know what I mean? So like the fact that like it comes up to the surface first and foremost, and everybody kind of like sees it and like can become sort of a part of it is helpful.
It sounds kind of counterproductive, but giving back, getting involved in your community, that ability to help somebody else is huge, and it helps other people clearly, but it also helps to stabilize you.
You should feel seen and you should feel heard, because if you don't, then you know we as humans start to crumble. You know, we start to lose value in what we seek and what we want to be.
The biggest thing that just like it breaks my heart. You guys are so hard on yourselves. Like, you're so hard on yourselves, and if like I just want you all to just be nice to yourself, mostly like you're okay, you're doing the things, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
As you all know, like, Myers Park is a very large place with a lot of different groups in it. And our goal as a staff is to try to merge these groups together and try to get them to work together. There's been a few incidents in the last couple of years that have really impacted our community and have made us reflect, like, on how, you know, on the state of our mental health. That is, I mean, we've had like more events here on campus, such as like the talks on suicide prevention during lunches. We've had different groups that want to be more outspoken and have like a say at the table and want to have a voice that we've amplified through like the Black Student Union, for example.
I joined Dream Team, and that was also a really good step for me to focus on others. I've noticed that when I am at my highest levels, or when my mental health is the best, it's when I'm focusing on others rather than myself. And so I love how Dream Team has allowed me to focus on others.
The fact that kids are doing that, and then they bring that to the attention of the adults around here, you know, like teachers or otherwise, and then it becomes like this thing where people feel as though they all kind of own it, you know, and they're all in it together, which I feel like is the best part of that. Because if you feel like, you know, you value what you're doing and other people that are around you and are with you are valuing that stuff too, then like it becomes like a formidable experience. Like it becomes a good thing. But again, like I feel like we're kind of in the infancy of that here.
Talk to anyone with a walkie, they'll call me. Out by the main office and ask to speak to an administrator. We would like to think that we're accessible, and I think we were talking about this earlier, how it's like hard to see what's happening at the top, but like we would also like to think that if a student's reaching out to speak with us, that we are available to talk, and we are.
As students, you have gotten to see like Mustang minutes and like advisory time and like SEL time and 7 mindsets. Like there's all these things that like they're right now they seem to be ideas. Like how to implement them is maybe sort of a work in progress. You know what I mean? So I think we're at a good starting point. And like I feel like the continued emphasis to make it an actual thing. Like don't make it feel like for teachers that it's just another responsibility or like a burden that they have to do. Like, oh, now it's just another thing on my list of to-dos. But like to really make it so that you understand like it's not necessarily an extra part of anybody's job. It's just an extra thing that you could do in the classroom that just kind of create a good environment. But I also think kids appreciate it.
Everyone deserves a space and the opportunity to be themselves. And I think mental health, because of the stigma it has, people hide. And I think that by acknowledging that, the importance of it is what makes people unique and allows people to really thrive.
The community, I would say, it defines how large of an impact mental health has on an individual's life. Mental health and the community are like really like almost like synonymous, and so the role that community plays is like determining how will we address this, because mental health will always be there, and so it determines how we address it.